You're listening to Within Tolerance, a podcast for machinists by machinists. I'm your host, Dylan Jackson of Prody Machining, and this week I'm happy to welcome Kevin Strom. Welcome, Kevin.
Hey, what's going on?
Not too much. So for those who don't know who you are, where can they find you online? Who are you? What do you do? All that big picture stuff.
So I'm really just on Instagram. It's 1 and then the number 8 MFG. And I want to say thank you for having me on here. Like when you asked me to come on, I was pretty surprised.
Oh, no, you do some really cool stuff. I've been following along on Instagram for a while, and man, you do like such a wide variety. And not only that, but like, I'm a big car guy and automotive, nerd. So
yeah,
seeing all the stuff that you get to do is awesome. So where do you work and what do you do for them?
So currently I work for Tech Offroad. We're located in Newbury Park, California. And right now I do the CNC programming and design and kind of just do my best to make things happen around the shop. So,
well, what is Tech known for?
We build luxury pre-runners, and we also do production off-road suspension for like production vehicles and stuff. So you can buy like a kit and just bolt-on upgrade for your truck. So we make bolt-on upgrades, but we're really known for the custom machining and fabrication of the luxury off-road pre-runners.
Awesome. Well, let's get into your backstory. How did you get to where you are now? I mean, you kind of do the gamut, it seems like, where you are now. So how did you learn all these skills and where did you get into manufacturing?
So we could start from like the beginning. I was in the Marine Corps and stationed out here in California, and I got out of the Marine Corps and I moved in with an ex that I had, and I was working on this. I had a Mazda Protege, and I had blown the engine and was working on it, and her dad was a tool and die maker and had been a tool and die maker for like 40 years.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and he like knew a lot. And I was taking the turbo off that car one day and I broke the stud in the turbo and it was stuck in there. And I was like, hey, can you help me? And he's like, yeah. He's like, do you have a drill press? And I'm like, no. He's like, go buy a drill press and I'll come over. And he came over with a left-handed center drill and like set the turbo up on the drill press table, turned it sideways, did all this crazy setup on this drill press, and the stud just like came right out. And I was like amazed. And I'm like, I need to learn this.
Oh, how cool.
So, once I got that was right before I got out. Once I got out, I started, working in Corona as a machine operator on PLC machines.
Okay.
So it wasn't even like an actual CNC machine yet. They were just these proprietary machines. They made metal bellows. So do you know what a bellow is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So like they made metal bellows. So they're these PLC machines. And, I just had this minimum wage job operating these machines. And then in the off time, I worked the second shift there, and the owner of the company's son had ran the CNC shop for second shift. And on our breaks, we'd go out and like play Frisbee. And like, I pretty much just annoyed him until they let me start learning on the machines. And it got to the point where they're like, yeah, you can run these machines and on your overtime. And that's really like what got me like on the first time on machines. And I was just, running 2 Akuma lathes for like a couple hours for overtime. And
that's cool though. I mean, it clearly you showed a want to learn, and it's really cool that they were able to give that to you.
Oh yeah. The first day I showed up with like my own calipers and like and like I had never had any manufacturing job ever. And like I had all this stuff because of my ex's dad, and he gave me some stuff, and I worked there for not very long, and it was like, yeah, I got to go to school for this. So then I went to Fullerton College and basically took every machining class they had there. And I think they have more now, but like manual machining classes, CNC classes, programming. I basically went to school for like 2 years and got an associate's, but I don't really have an associate's. I never did the GE.
Mm-hmm.
So I just have.
But so you found that pretty useful though? Because it's really interesting talking to a lot of people. I absolutely loved my associate's program. I learned a ton in there. And then I've talked to other people who are like, oh no, I learned nothing. Like it was my way into the trade, but I could have done without it kind of thing.
Yeah, so I did learn a lot, and I got to meet a lot of good people there. And I would say though, by the time I learned more in the manual machining classes than I did in the CNC classes. I was so obsessed with machining and learning machining that I had pretty much already known basic G code by the time I took the programming class, and like so,
That's awesome.
and that was all. It was so super easy for me, and I had been running those Akuma lathes, and I was like pretty familiar. So when I got to the setup class, um, one too many kids crashed the machines doing setups, and the instructor was basically like, Kevin, you're gonna set these machines up and everyone's gonna watch you. No one else is allowed to touch them. I'm like, okay.
That's pretty funny.
But yeah, so I had a good experience at college. I got my first like actual machining job while I was still going to school, and that was actually at an EDM shop. So I ran a start hole EDM machine for
cool,
probably like 9 months, and then I ran a little bit of wire machine and stuff. But really, what I learned the most there was like what accuracy is, and
yeah, EDM will do that too.
Oh yeah, and so it was very very eye opening working there, and
did they cater to a specific industry, or was it just general job shop wire?
It was a job shop. We did everything. Like, I mean, running the start hole machines, I think the most of what I did was remove broken taps. people would send this crazy parts that they broke, like an M4 tap in or some shit, and I'd have to get the taps out. So I think I did the most of that there. But I made some pretty crazy parts, like 100 thou diameter parts that had like four 12 thou diameter holes. And the true position on those 12 thou diameter holes were like plus 1/10.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Yeah, so the machines can handle it.
Yeah, well, at that point, like, I feel like a lot of wire stuff, you kind of have to lean more on like your quality.
Oh yeah,
your ability to qualify these parts. Like you can say like, oh, this machine reads out to the 50 millions, but like if you have no way of verifying that,
yeah,
like that's the scary part about EDM work, I think.
Yeah, there we had one of those Kients, like visual.
Okay.
You like put it on the table, it takes a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had one of those. Those are super accurate and pretty damn cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So then how did you get from there to where you are now? What was the next step?
So from there, I worked part-time there. I was still going to school, but I had just made the decision to work full-time and go to school part-time. And I had been working at the EDM place for, I think, like 9 months at that point. And I basically got headhunted on LinkedIn. I got a message on LinkedIn one day, and this guy, Vincent Dito, had messaged me and was like, "Hey, you look like a good fit for this position that I have available. Do you want to learn more about it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Let me know." And basically, that position was for a methods technician at aerospace forging company. So,
oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
So, who did absolutely no machining at the time that I started there.
Wow.
So, not to lead into things, but basically there at that role that I ended up interviewing there and taking that role as a methods tech. My job there was to create manufacturing plans for the entire every single like department. That there they had a straightening department to straighten parts like after they were forged. Literally, guys just hammering on parts. But basically, over the whole company for everything, I was making manufacturing plans. And that was, in the manufacturing engineering office. So at the time, I was, just finishing with school, and I was like, you know what, I could really, take all, the classes that I have taken and transfer them, and do like a manufacturing engineering degree with them. So that's kind of like where I was headed towards, and I was like, yeah, I'll take a job in a manufacturing engineering office. That sounds cool. So, I was there for about 3 months. And then I got approached by one of the industrial engineers that worked upstairs. He worked in like the office right above me. And he's like, hey, I heard that machining and you went to school for machining. And I'm like, yeah, I did. What do you need? And he's like, so we've actually made the decision to start, bringing machining in-house. And, I have some questions. We're buying these portable CNC machines, and I want to.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's like, I would, like to pick your brain a little bit on them. And that basically turned into me helping a lot, helping him a lot. The company had hired their first 2 machinists, and those guys were, trying to set up these portable machines, and I was out there like a few hours every day, like trying to help them set these things up. And I think it was like after the first week, they hired this gentleman to be like the lead machinist. So he'd quit after like the first week.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm like, ugh. He used them to like get a bigger
better
raise.
offer.
Yeah. At the same company he left. So it's like, you do you, but
yeah,
whatever. And I was like, so, I went to Vince, who was my boss, and I was like, hey, this guy's just leaving, and the position for lead machinist is going to be open. I was like, I'm interested in it, and he's like, you know what? We talked for a couple hours. He's like, you know what? This is, a really great opportunity. Let me introduce you to who would be your boss, and you can start talking to him. And so he introduced me. I interviewed for the lead machinist position there, and kind of never heard anything back for that lead machinist position.
Oh man, that's a bummer.
Well, yeah, but they Vince and the guy that was going to be my boss, John, they had made a deal where like I could still help out and split my time. So I was like legitimately doing 2 jobs. So like half my day I would be doing manufacturing plans, the other half I would be doing machining stuff. And then I think after probably like doing that for like 4 or 5 months, I was like, hey John, are you ever gonna hire me? And he's like, yes. He's like, but not as a lead machinist. He's like, I'm gonna hire. It's like, I'm gonna hire you as the project manager.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah, that's not terrible then.
Yeah, not too bad. So basically they made me the guy. So the guy that originally approached me, to ask me a bunch of questions about machining and stuff, he ended up leaving the company, and I basically filled his shoes. And over the next 3 years, I was basically in charge of purchasing, installing, programming, doing everything. bringing all machining operations in house for this company, and I learned a lot in that 3
I
years.
bet.
Yeah.
So before we continue, just to step back, I assume this whole time you've been a car guy too, because you started down this journey
Oh
working on
yeah.
your protege. So you've been a car guy, working on your own cars after hours. So I just, as some foreshadowing to your current job. So where did you go? You were working there as a project manager.
Yeah.
What happened from there?
Um, you know, during that whole time, it was like, COVID hit and all that stuff. And the company I worked for, they were, I think, around like 850 employees.
Oh wow, that's
Before,
giant.
yeah, before COVID. Yeah, so this company, you can look them up. It's Weber Metals. They're located in Paramount,
Okay.
California, and so they have the world's third largest forging press.
Oh geez,
It's a 60,000 ton forging press.
that's insane.
It's nuts. It's like what you can see of it above ground. It's like only a third of the press. It literally goes 3 stories underground.
Wow. Oh yeah, I just looked them up, and they've been around since 1945
Yeah,
too.
yeah. They have a pretty crazy backstory. They started as a scrapyard, and then someone threw out a press, and the owner was like,
No way.
"Yeah, they're a big scrapyard. They threw out a press, and they're like, the owner, I think I forget his first name, but his last name was Weber, and he fixed the press and started forging aluminum. So
That's crazy.
yeah, nuts. They're now owned by a German company, Otto Fuchs, which
Yeah.
they're one of the largest forging companies in the world. You're a car guy, so if you ever the Porsche, the Fuchs wheel,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Oh, that's the same company?
that's made by Otto Fuchs
Oh,
in
how
Germany.
cool.
Yeah, so they also make a lot of, and we made a lot of forged aircraft wheels, and at Weber they did everything from like mostly large like aerostructure stuff, so like the large monolithic forgings that are like the shell of the airplane.
Right.
We did a lot of that.
That makes sense.
The
Oh
big,
yeah, I'm looking at a picture of the 60,000 ton press, and it is insanely giant.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it was pretty cool when they commissioned that press. I was actually still working in the manufacturing engineering office, so I was part of the team that made the first parts that ever came off that press.
How cool.
It was pretty cool.
That's excellent. So then you said that this was all during COVID. So
Oh, right.
what happened to get you out of there?
Well, first the 747 got grounded for that angle of attack sensor
Right.
issue that they had, and when that happened, the production line like shut down basically, and we laid off like 250 people right off the bat, and that was in January, right before COVID.
Oh, geez.
And then throughout the next year and a half, I think we did 2 more rounds of layoffs, and it was like another 200 people per layoff. So
that's crazy.
yeah. So like I think we went from like 850 down to like 250. It was there's like not very many people left. And so and I had like a huge responsibility, and I did end up getting help from one of my buddies, Tanner. He ended up running the machine shop while I was in charge of bringing new machines in.
Okay.
And so it was basically just us two, and these giant projects. Like I purchased one machine from Caterpillar in Peoria.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was Mazak V140N or Versatech V140N, and the table on that machine was 10 by 20 feet.
Feet?
Yes, feet. And it had a pallet changer.
Wow.
So like I'm bringing in these giant machines. It's a huge project, right? So it, I think that machine came over on like 16 trucks.
That's crazy. Yeah, I'm looking at it on their website right now on Mazak's.
Yeah, it's a massive machine, and like that, and then like we got that to do dies, forging dies.
Wow.
And then like we had the machine shop that we're doing parts in, and I'm like, I'm buying a new machine like every other month and installing it and putting them in, and it's busy. And basically, I had been doing this and had this responsibility for like a long time. And I asked for more money, and they're like, well, you know, through all the COVID stuff and
yeah, the excuses start running
yeah,
already.
well, so like a lot of people, like they're, my responsibility didn't really change over the whole, course of the time. I basically had the same, position. Some people, got reshuffled around and were like, had a lot more responsibility, and their roles like changed drastically. And basically it was like, yeah, we're gonna like take care of them first, and then we'll take care of you. And then I was like, okay, no worries. And then I wasn't really looking for, a new job, but um uh I was working with Ellison and my buddy Brandon, who's an applications engineer there. um he was on site one day, and we were like walking around. I was showing him that new Mazak that was like wrapping up, and he had mentioned something about some company like needing help or something. And like when he was there on site, and then later that day I texted him and was like, hey, what was that company? And he's like, why, you looking for a new job? And I just sent him back the shrug emoji, like I don't know. And so he was like all hot to trot and was like, all right, I'm gonna send your info out to a bunch of places. And he had ended up hooking me up with this guy Chris that owns Rottweiler Performance, and that's down in Costa Mesa. And so I ended up moving there and working for Chris for a while. And there we made aftermarket KTM parts.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so it was a nice change of pace. It got me out of aerospace and into some motorsport area.
Right, it was somewhat adjacent to your interests
area,
and all that.
Yeah. I haven't like really. I'm not a super big bike rider, but I've had dirt bikes and stuff in the past, and so I was interested. And I was working there for I think like 9 months or something. It wasn't really working out. I didn't really get along with the owner very well. But I did end up was scrolling on Instagram one day, and Kibby Tech had posted, we're looking for a programmer. And I sent my resume in, and I got a call probably like 2-3 weeks later.
That's killer.
Yeah, and I interviewed and pretty much got hired the same day. And
that's awesome. So how long have you been there?
I don't know. A while. Let's see. It was earlier this year, I think. Maybe April or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I've been here for like 8 or 9 months.
Yeah. So let's get into what you do there. Like, what kind of machinery do you have? I mean, I was just looking through your Instagram. It seems like you kind of do everything, like, parts that get bent, parts that get welded, parts that get bolted together. So, what do you do there, and what kind of machinery do you guys have?
Yeah. So, in the machine shop, we have 3 machines. We have a UMC 1000 SS, we have a VF4, and we have an ST20. And,
okay.
those three machines, we make like one-off parts for all the truck builds that we do in the fab shop. And um, like I sent you the drift truck that we did, and like
Yeah,
that's
for Ryan
that
Turk.
yeah that cantilever suspension on the back. Like that's like a one-off part for custom part for a truck, and we have those kind of parts for every truck basically that's in our shop. And then on top of that, we have all the production kits and stuff that we sell. A really popular one we have is like the TRX rear suspension.
I'm sure that's
kit that
hopping right now. It seems like those trucks are everywhere.
I think I made rear suspension kits for like a month and a half on the VF4. That's all the VF4 did for a month and a half. And I would in between setups, we'd like run a couple pieces of something here and there or whatever just to fit it in. But yeah, that machine ran just those for like a month straight recently.
That's crazy. So how does that process happen? Like, when Ryan Turk's truck showed up, for example, are you guys pulling from similar designs and then modifying it for the geometry that you spec for that? Or, how does that whole process work?
So that truck was a little different. That truck was sponsored by Toyota and Mobile One. And the guy that hired me at Kibitech, his name's Matt, and he did all the designing and all of the programming before I had started there. He basically started the machine shop at Kibitech.
Okay.
And when I worked there, or when I had first started, we had Matt who was doing the designing and some of the programming, and then Mike who just did designing. And then I came in, I took over all the programming from Matt, and that was about the time that the Turk truck showed up. Well, not showed up, but project was being started. And so that truck got scanned, and then Matt, from the ground up, designed the entire chassis and the suspension and everything. And that suspension is based off of C6 Corvette suspension.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on that truck. So,
that's neat.
Yeah, that geometry is pretty much already figured out and stuff. But all the like off-road trucks, we design the suspension geometry for those.
And what are you guys designing in, and what are you guys programming in for the CNCs?
So I use Fusion 360 for everything.
Okay.
When Matt no longer works there, he started his own shop. But he uses Inventor.
Okay.
And HSM. But
yeah, pretty easy to go back and forth.
Not as easy as I would like, but
yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I use Fusion for everything. I love it. I've been using Fusion for, I don't know, I think since 2016. It was the first, when I had first started trying to learn about machining and stuff. I was actually the protege. I was trying to design a exhaust manifold.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that was like, I downloaded Fusion to, start designing that. I wasn't good at it. And
I don't think any of us were when we first started using Fusion.
It was just didn't work out then, but I've had Fusion, I think, since 2016.
Okay. Did you do any projects while you were working at Weber just to kind of keep up your chops, or was it?
Yeah. So
you tried it in 2016 and then jumped back into it, or how'd that work?
No. So at all the other shops that I've ever been at, we used Mastercam for all the programming and stuff. And then when I was at Weber and they're like, you need to start programming machines, I'm like, I need Fusion 360. So
okay.
Yeah. So we had, purchased Fusion 360, and that was basically what I used for everything until it just wasn't keeping up with some of the parts that we needed to do.
Yeah, I imagine posts on something like that Versatech are probably not a standard post from Fusion.
No, and not even for any. I mean, every other cam software you have to buy post or get posts made for it.
Right.
But yeah, like there's just some like turning stuff that we turn these engine discs for airplane engines,
Mm-hmm.
and in titanium, when you're turning for that long, you got to do tool checks,
Right.
and that's just something that Fusion doesn't do very well. So it was like pause the machine, stick your head into the part where you can't see the tool, and you know what I mean, check the insert, and then if you have to index it, like maybe you can fit your Torx wrench in there to rotate, the insert.
Right.
But like Mashcam, you could just put a tool check in and it'll pull the tool.
Oh, cool.
It'll pull the tool right out, and then you can check it, index it if you need to, and then you hit go and it goes right back to where it was.
Oh, that's really neat.
Yeah. So it's like things like that, and then just like some of the ways that Mashcam handles the computation. So like on those engine discs, they needed to be, the surface finish has to be like absolutely perfect for ultrasonic inspection. And
oh, geez.
yeah, so just like, I don't know. I don't want to get like too into the weeds, but
I feel like this show is into the weeds in and of itself,
yeah.
But it's okay. Well, so what does a typical day for you now look like? Like, how are you guys balancing production with one-off stuff? Is it kind of you guys all check in together, or do you have like your week laid out as far as production goes?
So before I started, we didn't really have anything. It was just kind of like, what are we doing on the machine today? And oh, okay, let me program that really quick.
Right.
So like since I've been there, I've started doing like the Pearson boards.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so we have that for like we have a lot of product lines, but I just started it with the TRX stuff since that's like right now our most popular thing. But I have so many like more boards to make for like every product line. But we tend to use that, and then I have like the machines laid out, and right now I just like on the little magnets I'll write what the plan is. So I try to do like everything planned out for this week and the following week.
Okay.
And I'm trying to get I have one machinist, Luke, and I have one guy, Shane. He went to school for mechanical engineering, and I have both of them getting more comfortable with programming. I'm trying to get them to where, like, I have Luke do a lot of the lathe stuff now.
Awesome.
And it's like pretty much to the point where I can just say program these, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great.
And Shane, yeah, so Luke pretty much handles all the lathe stuff. Shane's handling all of the mill stuff, the smaller mill stuff, like some fixture stuff, and then he's our laser guy. So we recently got a tube and plate laser and a CNC press brake.
Oh, awesome. I bet that's killer for you guys. I mean, all the brackets and stuff that you do.
Oh yeah, all the fabricated everything. I mean, the machine shop is the small part of the business. It's
right.
It's mostly fabricated. Everything's fabricated.
How many like trucks do you guys typically have, working at the same time?
Let's see. In the shop right now, in the fab shop, we have, I think, 8 trucks in there right now.
Oh wow!
And then
that's a lot.
Yeah, two just left. One's getting picked up Friday, and this is like not the 8 trucks that are in the fab shop.
That's a lot of projects going on at the same time.
Yeah, and I think there's another. Yeah, so 9 projects going on, like project trucks that aren't done right now.
Jeez. So how do you guys balance that with like your product line as well? Like I imagine, especially like that drift truck didn't have to be finished for SEMA. So were you guys working long nights doing custom stuff?
Yeah. So by the time, going back to that, Matt designed that whole chassis and everything, and then we didn't have the laser yet to cut that chassis ourselves. So basically that whole thing showed up as a pile of tubes that
Oh
were
boy.
that were laser cut and bent, and then it's like Legos putting it together. And we have chassis fixture tables, so that all the tube chassis stuff,
Right.
it's all got.
I would imagine you have to.
Yeah, it's all got fixtures and stuff for it. But yeah, that one was tight. I had all like the machining stuff done a few weeks ahead of time. But all
that's great.
Yeah, all the fabrication stuff. They had a couple long nights right before SEMA.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of anybody going to SEMA like not feeling crazy stressed right before it.
I feel bad for Ryan Turk because we got we gave him the truck 2 weeks before SEMA, and there's like tons of stuff, like all the finishings. The whole truck needed to be painted and prepped for paint, and
right.
There's a lot of stuff even after we handed it off. So
well, that's cool. So one of the questions we got from Tuck's Garage was, how do you approach complex parts? Because you've done some pretty complex stuff on that UMC. I mean, anybody who looks at your Instagram, I think, would say so.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I mean, I don't approach complex parts any different than simple parts. I don't know. I kind of stare at stuff for a while and I like look at the part and just go through my head and try to, come up with some sort of strategy, before I ever even start clicking anything. I kind of have an idea of what I'm going to do.
Makes sense
beforehand. And then, as I start programming, you always, I like to have, templates for things, and like, depending on the type of part, like if I've programmed something similar, I'll go back to, the thing that I've already programmed and like reuse a lot of that, a lot of those tool paths and stuff, try to make it easier and faster to program.
So like, what about those intercooler end caps that you made? How do you approach something like that on the 5-axis to make sure that, you get, because you're getting gorgeous finishes, but also, it's pretty thin, it looks like. So how are you getting those finishes, and how are you taking away material to make sure that you're not getting chatter or anything like that?
I'm not going to lie, there was chatter on the inside of those. There was just in the corners, we tried really hard not to get any, but the tools.
But you're like, well, it won't ever be seen once it's welded together.
Yes. But yeah, for that, like, I knew that was going to be the case when I started. Yeah. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to start with the outside so I can get, I have the most amount of material. So I'm going to do all the finishing on the outside first, as much as I can at least. And then I'm going to do the inside. And then the way I held it in, I did like a dovetail just in the 5th axis vise.
Yeah. I like the way you approached it, because I think it was Dr. Phil who like was showing stuff or talking about in one of his talks that like the big thing with 5-axis is that you don't have to approach parts like a prismatic part.
Right.
And so I like that you kind of kicked it off at that angle, and that way you could really reach quite a bit of the part.
Yeah, that like on that thing, I try to get as much done in one op as you can, and then the least amount you have to do anytime that you flip apart or rehold it or anything, you're gonna reduce any error that you have.
Totally. So what kind of tooling are you using for the like parts like that?
I have like a standard tool list that I use. It's 10 tools, and it's not anything crazy. It's a 1-inch shell mill is tool 1, a 2-inch shell mill is tool 2, tool 3 is a 5/8 rougher, 4 is a 1/2-inch rougher, 5 1/2-inch finisher, 3/8 flat, 3/8 ball, 1/4-inch flat, 1/4-inch ball, and then tool 10 is a chamfer mill. And I think I can program 95% of anything that I touch with those 10 tools.
That's awesome.
And it's only like, non-standard features that I'll use non-standard tools for. So like on all of our we press fit and snap ring uniballs in all of our upper control arms or trailing arms. A lot of stuff we do gets uniballs, like like snap ring grooves. That should honestly be a standard tool because we do it all the time. But that's the snap ring groove. I'm going to use a QC cutter.
A QC cutter. But what brands are your go-to?
I'll use whatever. I'll make whatever work. But for end mills, I usually just buy helical stuff, and then it's cheap. It works.
Okay. Awesome. It clearly works. I mean, you're making really good looking parts.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
His next question was, do you like small batch or production work better?
Dude, I like all of it. Everything. I just like a challenge, and there's different challenges with both. And it's like, I don't know. I like the variety that I have now.
A little bit of both.
Yeah, I get to do both because
yeah.
I do enjoy like figuring out, a process and dialing in a process. But then I also like making one-off parts.
So what have you brought from your experience with developing documentation into the production parts now?
Not much. I mean, I did a lot of process documentation at Rottweiler when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted everything documented. But here now I have what I'm doing now is like I do a tool list and a setup sheet. So I have like a drawing template in Fusion that I have like I made a custom title block and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so like in that title block I'll put what machine it's going on, what the work coordinate system we're using, just like all the standard information you need to know in the title block. And then,
smart.
And it all has it's an attribute in the title block or whatever. So, you have it every time. And then in the regular drawing, I'll usually do like a 3D, like an ISO view of the part. And then I'll highlight any like critical dimension that we need to do. And then I have like a notes section, and that's all in one drawing. And then I print that out, and then on the back of that I'll print the tool list, and then that goes in a like a binder sleeve and into a binder.
Okay. So yeah, nice and simple. I like that.
Yeah, and then I'm working. I want to get all the machines hooked up to the network and stuff. Right. I think right now only the UMC has like the Wi-Fi on it. But I want to set them all up to a network drive. That way you can get rid of the USB. But each binder gets a USB, and that USB has all the production programs on it. So
cool.
Anytime, like if I'm saying like we're doing shackles or whatever, like leaf spring shackles, you go into the programs binder and you go to the shackle section, and you have the setup sheet and the tool list and the programs there. So everything's already ready to go.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds like it works pretty well then.
Yeah, it's working pretty good so far.
Awesome. Well, Alex Kern, Chief Bub, asked, what Fusion toolpath do you enjoy using the most and why?
That's an interesting question. I think the one that I use the most is the blend toolpath.
Really?
Yes.
You get good toolpaths out of
that. I've messed with it so much that I have it pretty locked down.
I might have to bug you about it then, because every time I try it, I get just some janky stuff.
There is definitely a way that you have to go through and an order you have to click things, and there's a way to do it. But
okay.
Yeah, so every like that until the recent update where they came out with the deburr path, that's how I deburred everything. It was blend.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to have to bug you then, because I just tried it yesterday, I think, or the day before, and it was the nicest blend I've ever got, or blend toolpath I've ever gotten, and it was still super janky, and I didn't use it. So
Yeah. Every fillet on every like part. Anytime two surfaces meet, I design a fillet there, and then I use the blend tool path. And that's how I deburr parts.
I'll definitely have to bug you about that. Yeah, the new deburr toolpath, I played a little bit today with it. It's pretty cool, but still, I would like to know how to use blend.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's crazy how easy it is. You're just like, yep, click, click, click.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm like,
everything's deburred.
It came out, and I was like, oh, I've been waiting for this for so long. Like, this should have been one of the first things they did.
Yeah, it's killer. His next question was, what machine is next for Kibby Tech and why?
Oh, so many. We don't have any room though.
Well, let's say room was not a matter. What do you need next?
I think that what we would need most is like a dual spindle 4th axis lathe.
What parts right now are you running? I assume that means you're running parts on the lathe and then the mill.
Yes, we do a lot. We have like all of our upper control arms. We have a dust cap that goes on the uniball, like on the up to protect the uniball, and that's a 2-op on the lathe and a mill op. So that's definitely for that machine. And then there's a lot of stuff that we want to make that we just it's a monumental task without that machine. So it's like, just hold off for now.
Okay. So you think like a DS30 or something, or
like probably a DS35Y.
Okay.
Or something like that. That size machine. But I am pretty partial to Doosan. I love Doosan machines.
Okay. So maybe a Lynx or a Puma or something.
Yeah, Puma.
Very cool.
Who knows? I had never touched a Haas until I came to Kibby Tech, so it was like a new thing. I never. I mean, we had them in school, but I didn't really like. We had Fanuc and Haas machines.
That's really nice
at the school. Yeah. So, and Hercos. Actually, the first 5-axis thing I ever did was at school, and it was on a Herco.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty rare brand to see in a school.
Yeah. Yeah. You were asking like, if I had a good experience at school, and I did. And I think that's partially because I did a lot of research on schools before I picked one. And I definitely picked Fullerton College for their program. They had like one of the nicest shops and I think one of the most extensive programs there's a lot out here in Southern California. So
that's good to know. I think it's like, I'm a big proponent of it. I think that like, yeah, you can go right into the trade and learn some stuff, and you will learn no matter what. Yeah. But like having a structured curriculum is, I mean, I guess ideally, like I think the best learning you can do is having a job and be going to school, because then you're learning like a curriculum and then you're seeing practical applications, every day.
Right.
Yeah. So that's great. I'm really glad to hear that.
Yeah.
All right. And then any other machines that you think you guys could use?
Another, a larger VMC.
Even bigger than the VF4.
Yeah. So we could probably use a VF7 size machine. Wow. So today I posted trailing arms.
Mm-hmm.
Those we do in 5 setups because it doesn't fit on the table or in the travels.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so we have to, all the trailing arms that we do have to be done on, 2 ops on one side.
Oh, you do one op, shift, one op, and then flip and do the same thing?
Yeah, we do. So the tops of the trailing arms, for the most part, fit within like the 55-inch travel of that machine. But our, the trailing arms I'm doing now are 55-inch trailing arms, but it's center to center of the uniballs. So
so even more than that.
So it's more than that. So even like our smallest trailing arms don't even fit on the machine we have. So that's
frustrating.
It's very fun blending everything between ops. So it's like,
I don't know that fun would be the word I would use, but it's something. Yeah.
It's you definitely learn a lot every time you machine parts.
So what process have you developed to kind of be able to slide parts like that and maintain a good blend?
We're kind of winging it right now, but I actually today I'm kind of spinning the wheels on a fixture setup that we can use. So right now what we're doing is we're machining the first op and then opening the vices up, sliding the material over, and then indicating the part back end as close as we can to being flat and in every axis. And
Which is tough, yeah.
yeah, like I think today we went to go close the vices and the part like tilted up like 200 thou. I'm like, oh, okay, that's not good.
Oh no.
So I'm gonna build a fixture. It'll basically be like a top fixture and a base, and then the base will have multiple pins. Where once you put the part on the fixture, it doesn't move, and then you just pull the top fixture and move it over.
Smart.
Yeah,
we like that.
Yeah, I don't know how many trailing arms we've made. Probably like I think almost 10 sets now.
Oh wow, yeah. So it's going to be a big seller for you guys.
Yeah. So,
what would you say is the hardest part you've had to make while you've been there?
Our center mount J arms on the UMC.
What makes them so hard?
They're massive, and they barely fit on that machine.
Jeez, it must be really big then. Yeah,
yeah, they're so it's in like an upper control arm, but it's a like a J. We call it a J arm because the shocks actually don't sit in between. They sit. The whole arm is forward of the lower control arm.
Okay,
so they're like shifted. So we call that like a J arm setup. Mm-hmm. Those we start with a 135-pound block of aluminum, and they get machined down to 17.7 pounds.
Those are cool parts though. Like I love stuff where you're like, oh yeah, that's like 80-90% material removal. You're like, that's neat.
Yeah, I was so like busy and just into the programming and stuff. I didn't even take any pictures or anything. So like all the pictures and videos of those are like from other people posting them, and I'm like, I don't even have any on my phone. I'm like,
So how long did it take for you to figure out that process?
I think it took me like a week and a half to do all those. We did 5 sets, so like a mirrored set, 10 parts took like a week and a half.
That's really not that bad at all. I mean, that's like prototype machining kind of timeline.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think that's impressive. Like that's really impressive.
So we do run like a split 2-shift kind of thing. So like I come in at 5 a.m. and get the machines rolling and stuff, and then Luke, our machinist, he comes in later in the day and stays until God knows when. I don't know.
So do you just set things up then when you're prototyping and then hand it off to him and say, keep running this or something?
It depends. Depends on like what the part is, how confident I am in my own programming. If I'm less confident, I'll do it. Just, but if it's like, yeah, that's good, here you go. But the goal is to get everyone competent enough to just program on their own.
You guys have that much work that you need that?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So now that I'm the only guy in the office, I'm doing a lot of the fabrication design and the programming and just everything. And like so I have Shane, he helps me with the laser and the press brake, and so he's pretty good with like taking the model and all the bent pieces and stuff, and we've come up with a process and like how to get the DXFs with all the sheet metal and stuff, and he knows the laser, and we actually use like the press brake software to like program the bending and stuff. But,
oh, cool.
Like that's a whole thing in and of itself. Like, oh yeah, I also forgot to mention while I was working at Weber, I actually went to school for fabrication and welding as well.
That was my next question, was where did you learn all this other stuff that you're doing?
Well, I learned like fabrication. So I went to the fab school. It's in Rancho Cucamonga, California, and they teach motorsports, welding and fabrication. And I took their fundamentals of fabrication course, which is like how to fabricate and weld and stuff, but it's like not computer. There's nothing computer. Your CAD is cardboard aided design, and you're cutting sheet metal on a bandsaw and bending it on a hand brake and hand fitting everything. It's all handcrafted stuff.
Right.
So kind of just learning as I go with, the CNC press brake and stuff. And
I imagine having a good base though, like that. I mean, it's like learning manual machining and then trying to learn CNC. Like, right, you at least understand what it's supposed to look like at the end.
Or like what it takes to get there is like definitely. I think like the best advice I've ever gotten with machining or designing or anything was design things exactly as they should be in real life. Like, and I think every mistake that I've ever made programming or anything has been where something wasn't exactly as it is in real life.
Okay.
I think step one in my troubleshooting process, if something's not going well, is I go to the computer and try to figure out what's messed up on the computer before I like try to blame a machine or a wrong offset or something. I go to the computer first because more often than not, it's the computer.
Right. It's not matching reality.
Yes.
I gotcha.
So like I've had a lot of cases where like, I don't know if I don't joint things properly or ground them in Fusion, but I had things move. And then it's like your work coordinate system's off and stuff. And it's just like, not fun. So
yeah, I've had that where you like project a point, but then you don't actually select that point. You select something that's like super near it.
Oh yeah.
You're like, oh, why is everything 5 thou off? It's like, oh, because I didn't actually select the point that I thought I did. Yeah.
I had an issue literally, I think yesterday or the day before. I designed a fixture and I have a manufacturing file. So I have the part, and then in the manufacturing file, I'll usually design the fixture there. But I don't like keeping my cam for the fixtures in the same file as my cam for the part, just to keep things very clean.
Okay.
So I went to export the fixture out of that file and I like saved a copy. And then when I brought it, opened that up, something happened and I didn't notice like one of the components had moved, and I was projecting holes off that component.
Of course, yeah.
And so I went and made the fixture, and then the holes are off by 200,000. I'm like, what? And it was like that was one of the things I was like, here you go, Luke. Machine these, and I come in in the morning to a note that's like, hey, something's wrong. Like, oh, nice. So I had to bore and press fit plugs and rework the fixture. It's all good. It's all good now. It's making parts now, but it's like just something off in cam. Like, and it's more often than not, it's something wrong in the computer than a wrong offset.
For sure. Yeah, I've had my fair share of that.
Yeah, I think everyone has.
Yeah. Well, let's get on to shop news and new things. Is there any new product lines that you guys are working on, or anything new in the shop?
So much. Everything is new all the time. It's like we're starting a new build. I think we started yesterday, and we've already cut half the truck off. So we're doing we're doing a whole back half kit for Ford Raptor.
Oh, and cool.
It's like it's very cool. I've been kind of like involved in this whole process so far. I designed the welding fixtures for the bed cage, and the actual frame rails that we've designed in laser cut. Those were actually the first things that I bent on the press brake when I was like learning how to use the press brake.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so like that truck got like the half back of it got cut off today, and that's hopefully we get it done in a couple weeks. It's not shouldn't take very long to do that one because that's not
Is
like
that
a full build.
like geometry and stuff you guys have already had before?
Yeah, that's all designed in the computer already.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've done they hand fabricated one truck, like one Raptor back half. We do the bed cage and we sell the bed cage, but like we actually built a customer's truck, we hand built, and then we took that and reverse engineered what they did and put it in the computer, and now we have our own. Like now we can just make one versus having to hand fabricate it and do the whole thing.
So do you guys target like very popular off-road vehicles for products like the TRX? I assume was one of them. Like, are you doing stuff for the new Bronco or the Raptor? I mean, it sounds like the Raptor is another contender.
Yeah, so I'm the Gen 3, the brand new Raptor. I don't think we haven't had our hands on one yet, but I'm making Raptor upper control arms right now, and we have like a Raptor long travel kit. We do a lot of Raptor stuff, a lot of TRX stuff, and then but what KB Tech is really known for is the Chevys. So
okay.
So we have 1,500 long travel kits and 2,500 long travel kits, and we do like coil over conversion kits. We have, I think I make like 4 different upper control arms for the 2,500s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's like we have the bolt-on ones, we have coil over conversion kits, we have the upper control arms for our kits. We do a lot of Chevy stuff, so and that's kind of what we're known for is the Chevy stuff. But we do have like a similar kit for the new Bronco that is kind of, I still need to go through it and double check stuff, but like the first design is there. And
sweet.
So that's
do you guys like chase new models, or is it customers coming to you and being like, hey, can you make something for this model?
That's kind of how it goes.
Okay.
We don't really like, oh, I need that new vehicle today, and so I can be the first one out with. It's like, no, we have a customer that comes with us and like, hey, I want you to build this truck. And so we develop, our products for that truck.
Cool. That's great. Well, that brings me to the last question I ask every guest every week, which is, what have you been researching this week? It doesn't have to be machining related. It's just what's been popping up in your browser.
Press brake tooling.
I thought it might be something along those lines.
Press brake tooling.
So where do you go to learn about that?
I don't know. Do you know?
No. I don't know. You are talking to somebody with very little fabrication experience.
Yeah, so like my fabrication school, like I think we touched a CNC press brake like once or twice, and it was like they didn't show us how to program it or whatever, or like dies or anything. It's like, here, bend your part. Like it was like, this is what a press brake is, like, so it's like, no, like I don't know very much about, bending and press brakes and stuff, but it's like the new thing for me to figure out and tackle. It took me like a week and a half to figure out the control on the machine.
Okay.
There's not even a manual for it. So
geez.
It's hard.
Who makes it?
Bystronic.
Okay.
So it's like a German company, but it's made in China.
Oh, okay.
So it's like manufactured in China, but the company that owns it is German, and it's German.
Like, yeah, that sounds like not a good time to find information.
No.
So if you're listening to this and you guys know anything about that, please reach out to Kevin.
Yes. I have a question. Do you use like the 52 millimeter, like pallet or the like pull stud?
We have some stuff in the works for a 4th axis with 52 millimeter. We use a ton of 96 right now.
Okay.
And then the 52, we have a small Lang vise and a small 52 millimeter base that's going to go on a custom 90-degree trunnion for our 4th axis.
Nice. So I've just like redone a whole process on some of the upper control arms that we do,
Hmm.
and I have a lot of drops that have the pull stud pattern already machined into them,
Okay.
and I'm like, I don't want to throw these out, but I also don't you know
Know what to do with
know
them.
what to do with them. So
Yeah.
if
Okay.
if you're interested in them, or anyone that's interested in them, let me know, because I have a lot of them.
Okay. Once we build our fourth, I will definitely reach out to you because it sounds like they might be good, like either mini tombstones or little
Yeah, like
like pallets or something.
yeah, like I was thinking little pallets. I'm gonna save a couple just to have fixtures, like a
Okay.
little setup. No, that was my thought, but like I don't need. I think I have like almost 100 of them right now. It's like I don't need that many, so and I
Yeah,
don't want to just toss them. So
I know the feeling. I just redid a lot of our stock rack, and like looking at a lot of it, I was like, man, it's like a good piece of material though. Like I'm such a hoarder, but it's like, no, just get rid of it. Like it's not, they're not big enough that I can cut them to a custom length for an order. It's just like,
yeah,
the order would have to be exactly the right size to fit that stock. And it's like, you know what, just get it off the shelf, get it out of my life. I don't need this clutter.
yeah.
But yeah, I definitely know the
I've been
feeling.
having a lot of fun making the Instagram reels recently, and
Yeah, they've been great.
there's a sound that's like like from a woodworker, and it's like they're about to throw a thing away. I'm gonna have to make a reel for it, but it's pretty good. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, this one has potential.
Yeah, both Brad and I, like I was talking to somebody about it, and they were asking like, oh well, how do you decide what to keep? And I was like, it's a totally like baseless decision. Like I look at it, I'm like, I guess, yeah, it'll be fine. And then I end up having shelves of just garbage pretty much.
Yeah, when I came, we had like a whole pallet rack shelf, probably like full of material. I'm like, all right, we need to like not save everything anymore. And so
Right. Yeah.
I little by little, I'm trying to like whittle away at like, oh, I can make this piece of a fixture out of this piece of material, and it's like way too big, and it'll fit in there, and I'll just machine a bunch of extra just so I can not have that piece of material on the shelf anymore.
Right.
So
Yeah,
it's like,
I try to now only keep stuff like a bar. If it's a bar stock, I try to keep it if it's long enough that I know I can cut pieces out of it. But if it is just a piece, it's like, nah, that's probably leaving us. That's probably going to
yeah.
the scrapyard.
So all we basically machine is like 17.4 chromoly and aluminum. And
Okay.
so like 17.4, we do all of our own like spacers for everything,
Hmm.
like misalignment spacers and all that stuff. But basically, when we get done with the bar, it goes in a bucket, and when the bucket's full, I have the guy come take it, because we're not making any little things that are that big. And it's like, also, we don't do any like, you might have a use for that if you have a part, that you got to make down the road.
Right.
But it's like, no, I'm only ever going to make something very similar to what is already being made on that machine. So it's like, I don't even.
Yeah. Well, and like the biggest thing for me is that it ends up growing so much and getting so messy that like even if I had the perfect piece of material for something,
Mhm.
I'm not going to remember that I have it, and I'm not going to be able to see it.
Or
And so
find
like
it.
we got
Yeah.
those fiberglass bins that Easton told me about, and now I think my system's just going to be like, if the bin is full, you can't keep anymore. Like, and if you want to keep this piece, you got to throw something out of the bin. And like that's the one bin is all I get of scrap in that size.
Yeah. I've heard you on the podcast talk about before about like paperless parts. Is there any other like software that you use to like run your shop?
Right now, that's it. Actually, I just recorded with Chris last night, and he was pushing me. He was like, "You got to get on like Asana or something and start doing something to kind of break out tasks." Because like paperless gives me enough. It gives me an overview of like, here are the orders you have, and here's when they need to ship, which is great. Like just having that alone is night and day over having it all in my head. But I would, what I'm going to try to do is break it out even further and have like Asana auto pickup created orders in paperless, and then break it out into like a template task where it's like order material, order any special tooling,
Yeah.
op one, op two, blah, blah, blah. Because right now that kind of just lives in like Brad in my head, and it's like, well, I hope I remembered everything.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
No, we don't use anything right now. I've used Trello in the past, and I really like Trello. And I kind of started to use Trello here, but it's like I'm the only person with it because like I have my own account or whatever.
Right.
So, and I'm like, that's why I did the Pearson boards, because you can pretty much do like the Pearson boards in Trello if you're plan it out properly and have it all laid out. You can pretty much do it in Trello, but it's like for me, it was like I'm the only person with this, and I'm not going to expect everyone to download it or like make an account to use it. So I'd rather have something where everyone can see it and do it.
Yeah.
But I was just curious because I always at the aerospace shop we use SAP, and like that's a big ERP.
That is a bear to use. We used that at one of my past jobs, and it's tough.
It's
we used that, and we used Job Boss, and both of them were like they're one of those things where if you let it get away from you at all, it just becomes useless, and like it's just like paper for paper's sake kind of thing. And so I think I've been so burned on ERP solutions that make work for me that like I've been super hesitant to do anything, which is not a good place to be. And so Chris was pushing me last night. He was like, dude, just try Asana, like see if you can come up with templates that work for you. He's like, if you don't do it, I'm gonna create a Protium Asana for you and just give you the password. He's like, you need to do this. So I think that's my homework for like this weekend is kind of go in and see if I can create both the template and the link between Paperless and Asana and have it kind of push new orders into there.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
I want to do some stuff where, because we have a website, we do website sales and stuff. So I would love to do like something when like we get an order, it auto does the shipping label and packing list and like set that up. That would be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what you guys use for the shopping experience, but I think like Shopify does that native or can do that natively with like ShipStation or something.
Yeah, we do have Shopify, and I think ShipStation is like an add-on. Like you have to get that, but like I just got to figure it out. But
yeah, because that'd be nice, just like pack and go kind of thing.
Yeah, it's crazy because we have website orders, we have dealer orders. So like all of our like products and stuff, it's like you can buy it from our website, but most people get it from like a reseller. And that's,
interesting.
So we do, so like I'll ship out pallets, of parts of like kits, and that'll go to the dealer, and then they'll like, because we don't do installs on that stuff.
Right. So what do you guys use for inventory management? Like, how do you know if you're running low on a kit? Is it not until somebody orders and you're like, oh shit, I'm low?
So that's kind of why like I've been trying to implement the Pearson boards, but basically everything's back ordered. I need like 15 machines and a whole team of people.
On one hand, I'm sure that's incredibly stressful. On the other hand, it's
a good problem to have.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good place to be.
It's a good problem to have for sure.
Yeah.
But
awesome. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been great to kind of put a face to the name and get to meet you virtually and really get to hear your story and all the cool stuff you're doing. I mean, I think anybody who's not following you needs to head over to Instagram right now and definitely follow you. One more time, what's your handle?
It's 18 Manufacturing, and that's spelled ONE8MFG.
Awesome. I'll definitely put that in the show notes as well. And thanks to all the Patreon members who make the show possible. I was able to send Kevin a headset so you guys have good audio. And thanks everyone for listening. I'll be back next week.